Hey, what's up guys, TechTine here and I'm back again with a brand new video. So I'm gonna make this intro short and sweet. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, don't be a stranger, make sure you subscribe. Also leave a thumbs up. I do appreciate everyone for watching my videos. With that being said, today we're gonna be comparing the 2023 Moto G Stylus 5G to the brand new 2024 Moto G Stylus 5G. So Motorola did make a lot of changes in the new generation compared to the previous generation, and it's actually drastic. So let's go ahead and take a look, starting with the design of the 2023 Moto G Stylus 5G. So basically the design of this phone is as simplistic as it gets. So the back has this kind of matte soft plastic back to it, and the sides themselves are curved. We'll take a look at them here in a little bit. But yeah, so it's a very slippery phone, so keep that in mind. And if you look also at the back, you get your dual camera setup, which also kind of have this curved housing to it, so to match the whole curved back situation. But yeah, so the curvature on the back, while they do try its best to help with the grip, this phone is extremely slippery, like I said before. Putting it on a flat surface, the phone will just drop. That happened to me multiple times. Your bottom has your following port: your headphone jack, USB-C, your stylus, as well as your bottom facing speaker. But switching the story and talking about the 2024 Moto G Stylus 5G, big changes here. So beginning with the material of choice, though, this time around Motorola go ahead and used what's called like this vegan leather material that one feels really solid in the hand. And if you look at the phone itself, it's more squared off than this kind of curvature round design that they used last year. And the sides themselves are, while they are made out of plastic, they do try its best. They do try to mimic metal a lot. And the power button, volume up and down, are on the right hand side. By the way, I forgot to mention that the power button on the 2023 model also doubles as a fingerprint sensor. With the 2024 model, you get an in-display fingerprint sensor, which I didn't think that they would do that so soon. Also on the back of the phone, you get your dual camera setup that also kind of, the vegan leather wraps around that housing, so that's cool. Your bottom ports are your headphone jack, USB-C, bottom facing speaker, as well as the stylus again, which we're going to take a look at the stylus since it's the highlight of both of these devices. Basically, if you put these phones side by side, you'll kind of be able to tell that the previous generation looks like a toy compared to the new generation, right? One of the things that they did is that they made the power button smaller on the new generation, but since it doesn't really have a fingerprint sensor and doesn't sit flush, it didn't need to be that big. So it still is a clicky power button and a clicky volume up and down. It's not as flush as the 2023 model. And the camera, the way that the back looks in general, just is much better on the 2024 versus the 2023. Both of them have these 50 megapixel cameras on the back, which we will talk about later on in the video. The ports are very similar. I would say one of the big changes here is that the stylus housing is slightly larger to, accommodate the larger stylus. But again, material of choice, one has this kind of matte plastic that's very slippery. The other one has this kind of vegan leather material that does provide grip, but it catches dust like crazy. So make sure you try and keep it clean to the best. So basically, that's essentially the bottom line for the design. The 2024 did take a whole new approach in the design department. It looks much better in my opinion. It's more modern and it's a cleaner design than the previous generation. I felt like the previous generation was just an afterthought. Okay, so the next in the conversation has to be, without a doubt, the display. And Motorola also again drastically improved the display quality on the 2024 model versus the 2023 model. So for the 2023 model, you get a 6.6-inch Full HD Plus that does support IPS LCD panel, and it also has one of the cool features. And it also has a 120 Hz refresh rate that you can control in the settings. I'll show you guys that in a little bit. Basically, this is also kind of a tall display with round edges all around it. And it's a good display. I'm not saying that it's a bad display or anything like that, right? It's still an IPS panel, so it's not going to get as bright outdoors. And it's plenty sharp for my usage. You can kind of control the settings of the display a little bit. However, I mean, they're not, I wouldn't mess with it. I would just keep it at default settings. But if you also go to your display options, that's where you'll find kind of your refresh rate controls. So you can keep it in automatic mode or change it to 60 or 120 Hertz. That's up to you at that point. And so that's your quick summary of the 2023 model. Now the 2024 model, that's where you'll get kind of another major upgrade. So instead of an IPS panel, Motorola actually blessed us with an AMOLED display. So the display size is as follows. So you get a ever so slightly larger display. So instead of a 6.6 inches, you get a 6.7 inches, 2400 by 1080p, full HD plus. This time around, it is an AMOLED display. So it's what they call POLED 2.5D display that does support 10-bit, and you also have DCI-P3 color gamut. You also have 120 Hz of refresh rate, a max brightness of up to 1200 nits, which is insane if you ask me, especially comparing it to the previous generation, which I believe was around 400 to 600 nits, which is half the brightness. Now, again, it does also support up to 120 Hz refresh rate on an AMOLED display. So 120 Hz rate on an OLED display was really difficult to pull a couple of years ago, and I'm glad to see it make its way to budget-friendly devices. And even in the display department as well, you get this in-display fingerprint sensor. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, it's not as good as the physical fingerprint sensor. However, it's for the most part accurate and works well. So I would say you get around a 70 to 80% success rate out of 10 times that I tried it in a row. So it's still pretty good. When you put these displays side by side, again, this is where you'll kind of see the difference. It's hard to kind of show you in the camera, but the 2024 model, you can tell that it's brighter and the colors on it look just better. They pop a little bit more. It's an OLED display, uses OLED technology. It just looks better. And I also decided to put both of these phones under really harsh lighting conditions to see which one would be brighter. And you can tell immediately, even though the camera doesn't show it properly, that the 2023 model is really dim compared to the 2024 model at max brightness. So that also something that you would have to know. And the screen to body ratio is ever so slightly larger or better on the 2024 versus the 2023. Without a doubt, this is definitely a major step up in my opinion as far as the display. The 2024 Moto G Stylus 5G wins the display department. Easy. OLED display, 120 Hz refresh rate, in-display fingerprint sensor, brighter screen, just overall a better display. Now, moving on a little bit to the performance of these phones, and this is where kind of things become a little bit similar in a way. So both of these phones use the Qualcomm Snapdragon 6 Gen 1 processor. The Moto G Stylus 5G 2024 model has a octa-core processor, and it also has 8 GB of RAM, and also has 5000 milliamp hour battery. I'm not saying that it's a slow phone, it's a pretty decent phone. The GPU on here is also pretty good. So when it comes to your daily tasks, whatever you want to do as far as the everyday thing, it would work really well. The 8 GB of RAM on here is nice. It helps with the multitasking, helps the phone not glitch or not slow down as much. Gaming on here was pretty good. I did a full in-depth kind of 1 week review on this phone, so I'll leave it in the link description below. But yeah, gaming on the 2024 model was pretty good. Now, again, the 2023 Moto G Stylus 5G has the same exact processor, so the Qualcomm Snapdragon 6 Gen 1. So from a CPU perspective, they're very similar. Not a lot has changed there. The 2023 model does have only 6 GB of RAM versus the 8 on the 2024. Both of these phones have a 5000 milliamp hour battery. As far as performance, just pure performance, they perform very similarly. I haven't seen anything that made me say, oh, the 2024 model is way better. I do have to say this, that on the 2023 model, it did glitch out multiple times more than the 2024 model. The 2024 hasn't glitched out on me yet. The 2023, more than once. So I don't know, maybe that's because of its age or what's going on there. I just wanted to share that with you guys. But gaming, again, is very similar to the 2024 model. So the performance is not something that Motorola, I guess, really cared about when it comes to the 2024 model. However, I do have to say that it does support a 10 more watt faster charging than the previous generation. So 20 watt on the 2023 versus 30 watt on the 2024. So definitely faster charging speeds there, but performance in general, I would say very similar. I wouldn't jump the gun and buy this phone purely just for performance. Okay, so the big conversation here is the camera conversation. And this is yet another category that Motorola excelled my expectation as far as the difference in quality. Now, as far as resolution, both of these cameras have a 50 megapixel main sensor. However, the 2024 model does have optical image stabilization and also has a 12 megapixel ultra-wide sensor versus the 8 megapixel ultra-wide on the 2023 model, and the front-facing camera on the 2023 model is 16 megapixel versus the 32 megapixel on the 2024 model. So far as specs go, much better on the 2024 model. As far as video taking, as far as picture taking, video taking, the camera apps on both of these phones are very similar, very quick, very efficient. And switching between the photo app, the video app, I found it to be faster on the 2024 model. And just the wide angle switch between the main sensor and wide angle is very similar between both of these cameras. So there's that for you. Now let's go ahead and jump to picture quality. Now here's the 2024 model images, and I did kind of a summary camera review. The full camera review is still in the works. I promise it's coming really soon. But this phone really shocked me as far as image quality. It takes some really good pictures under nice lighting conditions. The colors on here are bright, they're vivid, a little bit saturated, and I have a little to zero complaints about the camera for the price point that Motorola gives us this phone for. I would say the dynamic range on here it's good. It's not the greatest that I've seen, but it's a decent dynamic range. The selfie camera could use some work, and the wide angle sensor just is not it. It does provide kind of a lower quality image. However, overall, the 2024 model did surprise me as far as quality. When you look at the 2023 model, again, the camera app on the 2023 model is similar. It's quick to switch between the photo and the main sensor and the wide angle sensor. It's not as fast as the 2024 model. It takes pictures just as fast though, and switching between your video, your photo, things like that is good. However, the image quality I did have a problem with. They're not as good. It has a hard time focusing. Images are not as sharp, and the dynamic range on here is poor. The quality overall is dull. It's missing a lot of vibrant pictures, saturated pictures. The exposure is off on a lot of these images, and even when you look at the video quality, so it does support 4K, but it almost looks like an upscaled 720p. So I want you to look at this 4K video. In a little bit I'm going to show you guys the 4K on the 2024 model, which is night and day better. It does kind of fluctuate the exposure here and there, which kind of offsets the video quality, but listens to the mic itself. Not let you change between lenses from the standard lens to the wide angle lens, which is alright. I mean, a lot of phones do that anyway. But image quality seems to be a little bit, it's okay. It's not the greatest, but for the most part, it works. The colors they're a little bit saturated, so I'll give them that. Alright, so that's your test. So again, the 4K video on the 2024 model is night and day better. So a much improved quality itself from the saturation, the more vibrant image quality that you see when pictures follows here in video. And even the focusing speed on this phone is really freaking good. So it did shock me, and it just takes video in a much better fashion. And you can actually switch between the main sensor and the wide angle sensor, which is a lower quality, but you can do that. Take a listen to the audio itself on the 2024 model. Click on the main sensor. Much better quality. So the video on this phone seems to be really good. So focusing is also pretty decent. It's actually kind of fast. Yeah. Actually, it's really good. Nice. So really quickly, let's discuss the styluses of these phones, since technically this is supposed to be the highlight of these devices, even though I'm not really the biggest stylus fans. So the 2024 model gives you a kind of a larger, wider stylus for a better grip versus this kind of thin circular stylus that was there in the previous generation. And I found using the 2024 model stylus as a much better improvement versus the previous generation. Again, I'm not going to be really using the stylus all that much, but if I need it, I feel like the 2024 model is much more reliable. Overall, here's my bottom line. Here's what I think. If you have the 2023 model, I would not be upset to upgrade to the 24 model. Trade the 2023 model in, get you a whole new phone that is much better in almost every aspect other than the performance, right? I wish they would have actually improved the performance, give us the Qualcomm Snapdragon 7 Gen 1 processor or anything that is above that kind of Snapdragon 6 Gen 1. They did not, they skimped out on the performance, so I'm a little bit upset about that. However, every other category that comes with the 2024 model, I feel like they nailed it. And in addition to all of that, the 2024 model also introduces a wireless charging capability. So you can wirelessly charge this phone at up to 15 watts of wireless charging, which is really quick if you ask me. And it does also have these magnets in the back to kind of guide the phone to the charging pad. Overall though, I would easily recommend upgrading to the 24 model if you have the 23 model. A lot of things have changed. I know the only downside here is kind of the performance isn't all that elevated, but everything else Motorola nailed, from design to display to kind of the features that they provide with the new model. Now what's left is that you tell me what you think of the 24 model versus the 23 model. Leave it in the comments below. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I know this video is long. I'm glad you stay tuned with me. Thank you all so much for watching. I will definitely catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.